we go. And happy Tuesday, my darlings. This is Night Writes. You've come to our weekly writing hangout. I am Jax, Jax Wolf specifically, and I am a fantasy writer hammering out on my debut fantasy novel. You're joining me on a little writing hangout I like to have every week. Basically, if this is your first time, it's pretty chill, pretty easy. If you're on Blue Sky, I would highly suggest you click that link, by the way, because that will take you to our open chat where you can say anything that you like, so long as it's within reason and you're excellent to each other. No violating TOS, don't be a jerk to other people, that sort of thing. And I will read whatever you post in the chat out loud and respond to it, and that's how we just socialize. If you're shy, we do have a little icebreaker every night. Tonight's icebreaker, they're usually writing questions of some sort, or things just kind of to jog your memory and get you in the mood to socialize. Tonight's icebreaker is pretty simple. Let's talk about community and your work in progress. You know, who's your family, who's your MC's family, however you'd like to interpret that, whether it, like I said, it's whatever you'd like to say. We will get to how I'm feeling in a moment, but it is very, very fun right now. But at 9 p.m. on the dot, we will start in on our very first word sprint. If you've never done a word sprint before, or you've never heard those, they're pretty simple. It's basically you sit there and you write for, or you do any kind of productive thing for a certain amount of time. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner that we have a timer set for 20 minutes. Our word sprints are usually 20 minutes, and again, word sprints are just word sprints in name only. Traditionally, you're supposed to be writing with them. However, for our word sprints, it's literally whatever you feel like it. I've had people who would just come in here and literally do laundry. Now, I have to admit, just one quick second while I turn down the music, because I noticed that it's a little bit loud. I do apologize, my OBS for some reason does not like to save my settings. Every single time I come in here, I have to adjust something. So hopefully that didn't blow out your ears, and hopefully you caught the first half of what I just said, but long story short, this is a chatter box kind of thing, free chat, click the link, join us, and say hi. Uh-oh. There we go. That was weird, that was a pause. And at 9 p.m. on the dot, we will start in on our very first word sprint. That is 20 minutes of whatever productivity you'd like to do, and there's now a siren in the background because this is an awesome night. Just a second, I do apologize. The downside of living down the hill from the firehouse. But anyway, at the end of 20 minutes, we talk about our progress. We share support, have a good time, we take a break. You get up and you actually walk around and take a little bit of a breather, because 20 minutes is a long time to be sitting still and doing nothing. Sitting still and working. And then at the end of however long that break is, because it's very loose, we start in on the next one. And we do 3 word sprints a night. And then at the very end, we say our goodnights and whatnot. That was a very disorganized spiel. I do apologize. You would think that after so many of these, I would have a script, but I do not. Also, if you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit out of it. I am very tired right now. I have to admit, I'm not sure whether or not I will last the entire... It's usually 2 hours, I want to say. 2.5 hours that we do these things. But we'll see how many sprints I actually do. But in any case, let's see, what is new? Not too much, I have to admit. I didn't get much sleep last night, and it's so funny because I've been trying to work on that, because I am very well aware that the human body cannot last on 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night, and that's what I usually average. But it is catching up with me, and I do need to take better care of myself. I do worry about like keeling over at some point, but it's entirely my fault too. Like last night, for example, I could have gone to bed at midnight, but then I was like, well, now I have an idea for what to write. So then I start writing, and then of course, you know how it is if you're a writer. Most of you are probably writers or some kind of creatives because I'm posting this to all the tags on Blue Sky for creative types. But basically, you're like, yeah, I'm going to definitely go to bed at a reasonable hour, and then at the moment that you're supposed to be logging off, an idea hits you, and you're like, well, I can't just go to sleep right now. I have to actually write this down, and then all of a sudden, you've written 15, 1600 words. But, yeah, you can also see that I was under this. I'm currently on a chapter that I started yesterday, so I'll actually have to flag where I'm starting. But I don't even care anymore. Like, I should probably keep track of it just because I'm doing sprints tonight. But I 100% failed at NaNoWriMo. There's no way that I'm catching up. At this point, I do believe it would be about 10,000 words or so if I wanted to actually properly catch up. But at the same time, also, I've noticed that I'm over with the Nameless Song. Like, we are about halfway through the book, and it's already 73,000 words. And I'm like, God damn it. Because here's the thing. Normally, this would not matter. You know how they're like, well, tell the story that you want to tell. And those are the folks who self-publish and are like, you know, everything's great with self-publishing and so forth. I don't mean to like be like that person, but like when you have creative freedom and the opportunity to do that, then it's like you can be like, do whatever and create a project. I don't mean to be bitter at all, I'm sorry. But when you're trying to query, things are a little bit tighter. Because here's the thing. When you're trying to query, you're actually advertising not only to your prospective agent, but also the editor. And the prospective agent knows what the editor wants and works towards that. So it's sort of like you're double shackled, but you're also, because of that, you're playing by a certain set of rules. So when you have an overly long book, you're basically hamstringing yourself. And it seems so minor, yes, but it also kind of makes sense because the longer your book is and the newer you are as a writer, the harder it is to sell. Because who's going to want to sit through 150,000 words by somebody they've never heard of? That's why you can have, that's why people like Stephen King and Sarah J. Maas can, or not Sarah J. Maas, her books are pretty short, but Brandon Sanderson, they can write however long they want because people know their quality of work, and it's like, if they write a doorstopper, it doesn't matter because their names will sell. But when you're a no-name author, you need to stick to word count limits. So if you have a novel that's over 125,000, then that's difficult. 125,000 is the upper limit for fantasy novels, by the way. It does vary by genre. Plenty of genres are shorter, and also age ranges as well. So like a fantasy YA is going to be by necessity shorter than an adult fantasy novel. I swear to God, these sirens, I don't know what's going on out there. I'd close the window, but the problem is that they turned on the radiators, so it's like you're either getting sirens now and then for no apparent reason, or you're getting a dead Jax. Those are your options, I'm sorry. But anyway, we'll deal with them. I'll be patient. Anyway, so that is the worry that I have right now with the Nameless Song. It is currently 73,000 words, and we're on the 16th chapter, and there are supposed to be 31 in total. I say it's technically 32 in the outline, but 31 once we combine the first couple of chapters. So what I need to do is I actually probably need to go back and twiddle, tweak, whatever, in order to trim. But even then, it's like I don't know how long this will be. I do know that at 73,000 words, the bee people come in, and that feels like a travesty. So we're going to have to fix it either way. That is one good thing, though. The bee people came in. And I have been hyping myself up for this for months. Because the bee people are so cute. They're very pushy, but it's like the Zizun, this particular colony of Zizun have been living in isolation for 2 generations now. Basically what happened is they were attached to, or they founded their little village around a monastery, and the monks were monks of the goddess of kindness. So the Zizun were used to being like, we'll give back because our human companions gave to us, and this was how we shared appreciation and whatnot. But then the human monks left Saint Nadia, so for reasons that are kind of nebulously touched upon. It's never touched upon in the book, but it's kind of like if you've been paying attention to Posts on Blue Sky, you would have kind of noticed that there was no real reason given, except for the fact that there was like a lack of people, like actual humans, going to Saint Nadia to study and become monks of Kedra, the goddess of kindness. So eventually the monastery became abandoned, and it was just the Zizun, and that was shortly before the current queen, Queen Yarrow's mother, dies. So the monastery is abandoned. Well, I have to work out the time frame because it's implied that it's been a while. And Queen Edelweiss, Yarrow's mother, had been sick for a while. So that's why there had been actually multiple attempts at a queen, and Yarrow just happened to be the last, and she feels like she's the last. So she's not very assertive, and she lets her workers kind of run amok and do what they want. And the workers don't fully understand, hey, you probably shouldn't overhaul somebody else's city, because they're workers, and that's what they do. They're like, well, we need our colony to be set up this way, so we're going to set it up this way. And oh, it looks like your food sources aren't going to support us, so we're going to take them over, and it's going to be great, and you're going to appreciate this because we're helping you, right? Except they forgot to ask. So there's that. It's all fun. That's where we are right now. But they are very cute, and I already love writing them. Like, even the most assholey one, there's one called Benjamin, who's named after Benjamin, yes. But Benjamin is probably a little bit more polite and a little bit more socially aware than Benjamin is. Benjamin is basically the queen's right hand, in a sense. To explain, basically, he serves as the queen's advisor, but that was recent because he had been spending a lot of time until just a couple of months ago living and working in Eldiven, the capital. So his job before this point had been, he'd gone there as a liaison for Saint Nadia to the Eldiven colonies. And to do that, it's kind of like liaison, but also he was there to study in order to better the colony itself. And basically, he had gotten a job with the Royal Archives, which is more or less the I wouldn't say the Smithsonian of this world. It's more like they're an organization that archives knowledge and does research on this old technology, this ancient technology from this long gone civilization, and so on and so forth. They're actually that is actually all a cover. They're saying it's education, but it's actually all a cover for research into the dragons and so forth. But that's like book 2 things. Anyway, Benjamin had been a pretty high-ranking archivist with the Royal Archives until just a couple months ago when Yarrow was like, I'm ready to lay eggs. So the other thing is that Yarrow and Benjamin are actually brother and sister, like related actually by blood. So Benjamin came home to St. Nadia and he took up the mantle of serving as her advisor and helping her through the entire process of raising the princess. That all said, Yarrow's kind of issues had existed before Benjamin came around. So Benjamin feels responsible for her, and he feels as if he needs to kind of like be a little bit pushy to defend her and to protect the colony. So consequently, he's like, he's like low-key insulting the dragons throughout this chapter because they're like, well, your techniques are primitive and insufficient for what you need. Just let us help you and improve your lives, and everybody will be happy. And it's sort of like he means well, but he's a dick about it, and I love him already. So yeah, I guess that is the answer to the ice. It's not actually the answer to the icebreaker. Because nobody's actually in chat, I'm just sort of chilling out and vibing and not answering the question, I suppose. The actual answer to the question is it really depends. You know, Mick and Eleanor are from this little tiny town in the second most backwater region in Eldana, which is called the Southern Reach. And their little town is called Southwind. And Eleanor, though Eleanor is like the daughter of the Count there, she's only really integrated into the higher society because she's the daughter of the Count. So she doesn't really have a strong community there. Ironically, despite the fact that Mick, as a smaller child, had been mercilessly bullied because he has no magic to use. After he befriended the daughter of the Count, his prospects and after he became a waiter at Southwind's oldest restaurant, his social skills and kind of acceptance into the community kind of skyrocketed. He's still considered an outsider by a lot of people, or just kind of weird in a lot of ways because he can't do magic. He is the Countess's pet commoner for reasons nobody can understand. Even is a little bit weird if you would try to talk to him when he's not working. Like, the kind of weird where he's quiet and obviously lost in his own world, but really he just doesn't really say that much. I don't know, it's difficult to describe, but you'll get it whenever you actually read the novel. He doesn't say more than he has to, and when he does say something, it's usually in a customer service voice. But in any case, ironically, Mick is actually more accepted in the Southwind community than Eleanor is. But beyond that, they basically have each other. Like, Eleanor has her friends up in Eldavin. She's had other partners here and there, but her favorite person has always been Mick, and Mick's favorite person has always been Eleanor. That includes their families. I mean, Mick has his family. He gets along well with them. Eleanor kind of hates most of her family except her mother. And her brother, actually. Her brother over in Eldavin, who actually treats her very well. But honestly, there's a reason why Eleanor chose Mick as her partner. And it's just because they've always had each other's backs. And now they're kind of like a little found family, or they're creating a little found family. They've collected Reuben as like their third, apparently. And he's apparently solidly their third now, after I did some work on the outline and after certain scenes that I've written within the past couple of weeks. I did not expect it to get that romantic, but apparently it is. I don't know how romantic Benjamin will get with the others on that note. I feel like Benjamin has a lot of things to work through first. But there are the dragons, and there are the Zizun, and they're going to be working together to create their own little community and sanctuary. It's going to be very cute and very community-minded. I don't know. Yeah, and that little threesome that I've just described are also kind of besties with the queens, both Yarrow and Miriam. So it's like this tiny weird little queer cluster that's running a city-state full of dragons and bee people, and it's going to be fun and fantastic, but we'll get there. So yeah, that is all of that. I have chatted for half an hour, so I feel like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about right now. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I am very tired today, so we're just kind of like bashing through and seeing how long I last. If nobody's coming in, I will probably forego board sprints after the first one and just sort of continuously write until I feel like I've got into a good place. Or, you know, who knows? We'll see. I know for certain that I'm not going to finish this chapter because it is a very chaotic chapter. One of the reasons why I actually redid the outline was because I'm not 100% sure where I wanted to go with it, this chapter, to be honest. There are going to be a lot of arguments, and even here, like, I might combine chapters 16 and 17. So my goal for today is just honestly to get to 1,000 words. But we'll see. We'll see. I do have tea, and hopefully the little caffeine boost will help, but fuck knows what's going to happen. We're just all along for the ride, I think. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick rest, like 5 minutes, so it's going to be a little bit silent and slow. If you are watching, consider hitting that link and joining the chat. If otherwise, you know, we're just going to chill out. 8:59. You know what that means? It is basically time to... Oh, hey, Oakleaf. Welcome, you came just in time. LOL, autocorrect trying to change that to help. Autocorrect, you okay, bro? LOL. Probably not. Brian Case, hello, hello, and welcome. You literally came just in time. I just popped back on the speaker or the microphone because it is 8:59 and we are just about to start in on our first word sprint. On that note, I also apologize because there are so many weird sounds outside my window, and I am sitting literally right next to the window. And it's either have the window open or it's going to be very unbearable in here. So we've already had fire engine sirens. We've had police sirens. We've had, I have no idea, it was like heavy machinery. I think it was like, I want to say it was a garbage truck, but God knows. And now it's like people on the street. It's like fun times all around. Branicus is 9 p.m. So I'm going to give you all a break from whatever the fuck is going on outside my window right now by saying it is word sprint time. So Oakleaf says, good, I need to get some words. I can't usually hear any weird sounds. That is really cool. That means that there's some kind of noise canceling going on, which is excellent. So this headset isn't completely useless. But in any case, deep breath in and slowly back out. One more time. And back out. Alright, now that we're relaxed, shake out those wrists, wiggle those fingers, get all warmed up. And 20 minutes are on the clock. So I wish you the best of luck on this very first word sprint of a 3-sprinter night, I suppose. Get ready, get set, and here we go. the first sprint done. How did we do? 400, on my end, 436 words, which isn't bad considering the fact that I did get distracted, and we'll probably be just fiddling around with the end of this thought until then. But as for everybody else, how did your sprint go? Also, feel free to like drop into the chat. How are you doing? And what's new on your end? What are you working on? That kind of thing. Just because I see that I currently have a few views, which means that there are probably people in chat right now. And those views came really at the very cusp of run 1. But in any case, I'm just going to... Oh, Oakleaf says, didn't get much because my dad called. Ouch. Ouch. At the very least, there are 2 more of these, so hopefully the next time around, you'll get some, you'll get a few more words in. But I hear you. When family calls, it's like, you have to pick up the phone, so... Okay, that should be good enough. Pre-sprint 2. There we go. That should be good enough as a final thought. Oakleaf says, I should be solid for the next one though. Excellent. And I am doing okay. Very busy day, but I have been thinking about my new work in progress all day, which is a really good sign for me that it's going well. I have to catch up with your stuff. What's the new work in progress about? I also have to apologize for not knowing off the top of my head. It's been a crazy week on my end too. I just went on your Blue Sky account and you just reminded me that 2026 is right around the corner, and how dare you, I'm closing your Blue Sky account again. No, I'm kidding. But you are right, incidentally. Like, I was just thinking today, mostly because, okay, so story time. So we all know that dipshit McFuckface, aka my ex, had maxed out one of my credit cards and contributed to the maxing out of a second one. So in order to combat that bullshit, every single week I go onto both of my credit cards and put a little bit of money down. So normally that's about $70 each, which is why I don't ever have any money to do anything else. Although honestly I should slow down with that a little bit for reasons, but in any case, especially since it's like the holidays and I kind of want to do fun stuff before the new year. You know what I mean? I have PTO to burn, that's all I'm saying. Anyway, today I went on my accounts and I was like, why the fuck are all of my minimum payments due at the same time? And I was like, oh shit, it's the end of the month, that's why. So, in other words, I paid down. I'm starting to see all the end of month payments, and it's sort of like, didn't November just start? So it is super weird to me that it is, and I'm looking at the date in the bottom right-hand corner of my screen right now, and it's like the 19th, and 100%, I feel like it was just like yesterday that I was fucking around on first Saturday and stuff like that. So it's super weird. I don't know how I feel about this at all. Incidentally, did I take? Okay, I didn't. All right, hold on. I've been so bad about keeping track of. I mean, I've mentioned this way earlier in the stream, but basically I've given up with Nano just because it's like I'm so fucking behind with it. Like, it's not even remotely funny. Things just happened. I just don't have as much energy these days to do stuff, I've noticed. Yeah, we are at 25,000 words, which is not bad considering the challenge is 50,000. So we are over halfway through. But keep in mind, it is the 19th. That is well over halfway through the month. Just for funsies. 7 to 8. Okay, it will be 24,272 in order to make goal. How many days is that? Let's say 10 days. I would have to write nearly 2,500 words in order to catch up. So that ain't fucking happening. Yeah, even though I do have one more weekend and also a 4-day weekend on Thanksgiving, it's like, I don't know what it is. I think it's just getting older, but like pre-pandemic, I used to do NaNoWriMo like every single year, and I didn't always win it, but I would either, I'd have a good chance of winning it, or I'd put up a decent fight. And honestly, the last time I won was actually slightly post-pandemic, but then again, I didn't have a fucking job. So, it's like, I'm trying my best, but it's difficult to muster up the energy for it these days. Usually, here's how it goes down. I'm up and about around 8:30, logging into work at 9, working solidly from 9 to 5 because my lunch breaks aren't counted with this job. So I try to have them at the end of the day, which is not exactly what you're supposed to be doing. But I like to just like work solidly, and then at the very end of the day, I don't have to make up time. It's just like I log off 5 o'clock exactly. In the summer, it used to be a-okay to do that, but now that it's winter and darkness on both sides of that 9 to 5, I'm trying to take lunch breaks at reasonable times nowadays. So that means another half an hour to make up at the end of the day. But on top of that, it's like there are chunky projects I'm doing nowadays. There have been a lot of events happening. I work for a publishing educational company that does educational events. So there's a lot of work to be done. So I don't really have too much time to sit down and write. Then at the end, it's sort of like, okay, now I need to take care of myself. Now I need to go through the entire list of things I wasn't able to do during the day. And by the time I get that done, it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and all I'm thinking about is decompressing. So that's why I end up staying up until like 2, 3 in the morning writing, because I can't muster the energy and inspiration to write until like midnight. So it's difficult. Um, I need to work things out a little bit better. And especially since I do want to actually write more than one book. Like, I know people who are on their seventh and they quote unquote got started right around the same time that I did, so it's sort of like that sucks. But, you know, that's what happens when you work so fucking hard and then have a social life on top of that, because I'm out and about on weekends. I actually had a kind of conversation, like if you're on Blue Sky, you would have seen that long thread about stuff, and we are like an hour into the stream, so I feel like it's safe to say that that person was a parental unit who was like, I just feel like you're missing out, blah 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 blah. But it's sort of like, I do have a social life. It's a very vibrant social life, even if I'm not dating. But like, that's the thing. Like, I don't want to say that I agree with them, but basically, before the pandemic, before I met dipshit and fuckface, I was not happy with myself because I would just hole myself up in my apartment and not really do too much. Just because back then I was trying to keep up with bill payments of another sort, like student loans specifically. And then at some point, I was like, this is, I'm literally, I don't have the will to live. So like now I've been working on that, or I was working on that. Then I was working on that in 2019, and then the pandemic happened, and then at the end of the pandemic, the layoff happened, and then at the end of the layoff, my dipshit ex decided to dipshit X. And you would think that would push me back into like the closet and the non-queer metaphorical closet, but I feel like there's no point in being in that place again. Like, it's almost like I don't want to say it's defeatist, but it's sort of like, if the world is going to be shitty, then you shouldn't hold yourself back. You should and do what you can to carve out a little bit of light in your life. And for me, that's why I go out every weekend. If I'm not going out to like the city, I'm going out and making a point to go and treat myself to brunch somewhere and take Benjamin along and sit him down and write, because you know, you have to get out and breathe some fresh air now and then. But quite frequently, I try to make it a point to at least once a month, multiple times preferably, spend those weekends going out with friends and just being chill and having a good time. My family member and my family in general, or at least this particular family member, seems to think poorly of me. Like, he says that he loves me, but at the same time, he doesn't want to understand how I live my life. So he doesn't bother learning anything about me. He just makes assumptions based on how I was as a teenager. I admit also that I reached out to my brother about this just to get his perspective and his advice on it, because, you know, we have to deal with the exact same thing. And it's just like, my brother's always had this really cool support system. Like, he's always been a lot more extroverted than me, so he's always been just perfectly fine and confident in himself. And basically he's like, he just as a quote, he's always been like that. Don't let it get to you. So I'm trying not to let it get to me at all. It is slightly difficult because it does kind of feel like, sorry, I don't know how to explain it, because it doesn't really matter. I don't normally seek out other people's approval because 9 times out of 10 I've learned that in my personal experience that seeking out other people's approval just is a losing game, because nobody's going to be happy with who you are and how you live your life, and nobody's going to be 100% happy with that. The only person that you need to seek approval of is yourself, and whether or not you're happy. But it's sort of like, it's dumb, and I hate the fact that I have a reputation at all, and that reputation is incorrect and based on absolutely nothing. Based on absolutely nothing that's true. But that's just how it is. But yeah. Well, I don't remember how we got on this topic. Oh yeah, the point is, like, I do have a vibrant social life. Like, no matter what other people say about that, like, I don't hold myself up as like a little hermit or anything like that. I go out, I have fun, and I have friends and people that I wouldn't necessarily trust my life with, but people that I have fun with and that I feel a-okay with. And it is so fucking bizarre whenever certain people try to give me advice on how to do this, because like I've been doing just fine for decades without your help. And it's fucking bizarre. And especially since it's sort of like there's this constant implication that it's because I don't have any interest in dating. And it's sort of like, I swear to God, I'm going to get over this in just a moment, but especially since it was like a conversation from the other day, but like, I'm so tired of people implying that I need to get over dipshit McFuckface, because like dipshit McFuckface was barely a year ago. Like, I wholly kicked him to the curb in December. And I didn't fully come to terms with the fact that I did that until well into the new year. And the people who keep on being, who are constantly like, you need to get over it, are people who never had that experience. It takes time to recover from that kind of loss. But also, fucking seriously, I'm still dealing with his mess. So like, I'm trying to be more patient. I'm trying, with myself at least. But I don't know, I just kind of wish that other people would just fucking back off and not expect me to conform to social norms in order to make them happy. Because that's it for me. Like, I'm not actively going out and dating ever again. Because why would I? Now, if it happens that I fall for somebody, then yeah, sure. But like, I'm not going to fucking download Bumble or shit like that. You know what I mean? So, like, that's it. So I do apologize for how personal all that was. But it has been on my mind for a while now. And it does tie back into the writing bit, because that's what I do instead of dating. I take myself out. I treat myself like the goddamn queen that I am. and have fun on my own or with my friends. But it's like I don't need anybody else in my life. I have Benjamin and my friends, and that's good enough for me. And the downside is like I am also taking myself out a lot. So it's money and also energy, which is why I haven't gotten as much done this NaNoWriMo, which is a huge ass oops, but you know how it is. Anyway, going back to the chat, Oakleaf says, LOL, November is going so fast. Also, no, it's fine. I've only started this month and not talked about it too much on B-Sky yet. It's currently me riffing off of my deep dive back in the similarity. You know how it is. I've only seen that word written out, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Plus my habit of writing normal little guys in epic fantasy situations. So my MC has accidentally rescued 2 elven children who turned out to be princes, and now he's in over his head. That sounds really fucking adorable. I want to read about these shenanigans. Oakleaf says, oh dude, my only nano goal is to write even a sentence a day. Word count is irrelevant. I'm at 16k. High 5. Honestly, it's a good thing. Like, people say, I've talked about how folks would shit on nano before, but ultimately, nano is about setting your own goddamn word goal, whatever that is, even if it is just a sentence, and achieving that goal and taking pleasure in writing and obsessing over writing for a solid month. So you are doing exactly what the spirit of the challenge is. Oakleaf says, you have a better social life than most people, to be honest, and having a partner, while it can be nice, is way overemphasized by our culture, right? Like, something cisnormativity, amatonormativity, heteronormativity, whatever you like to call it. It's a whole bunch of different things, but like some people don't fully understand how much societal norms have rotted their brains. And I do mean rotted because like it's so frustrating whenever I encounter somebody who insists that there's only one way to experience life, or who insists that their personal experience with life is superior to anyone else's, because it makes you a judgmental dick. But also, I guess it's also latent daddy issues because I'm not going to say anything I'm going to regret on this stream. But the older that I get, the more I understand that my grandmother was a fucking C-word. Like, she did so much damage to my family. Not to get super personal again, but generational trauma is no joke. Let's just say that. I've lived for most of my life with people who meant well, but insisted that their way is the best way and that you should conform to societal norms, because going against the grain and getting societal backlash is the worst possible thing that you could ever have happen. And the thing is, we're Jewish, so I feel like part of it is that kind of, I don't want to call it survivor's guilt, but something about being American Jews who didn't have to deal with certain aspects of our culture that you would think that we would. Solely because we had a means of escape and a means of hiding. And consequently, some parts of my family believe that you should conform as much as possible and hide who you are in order to make things easier for yourself. And that isn't an option that I've had too much of growing up, because though I, you know, yeah, I'm kind of like, how do I put this? People knew that I was queer, first off, so there's that. There were plenty of rumors about how queer I was. I knew myself whenever I was like in my teens that I was at least biromantic. Oakley says the Jewish Asian generational trauma is a lot. Exactly. I was about to say that at least I don't get as much from my Filipino side, but my Filipino side is the way that they handled things is exactly why I don't speak Tagalog. Or it's exactly why I can't speak Tagalog, because I never learned. Because my mother wanted me to be white passing, essentially. So, it's kind of funny that certain family members are very concerned about me missing out on things, and yet they want me to. Honestly, that's what it's about. Like, they're concerned that I'm missing out on things, but it's like, what am I missing out on? Like, this heteronormative view or heteronormative way of life, dating and bullshit like that. It's like, who cares? I've tried that and it wasn't for me. Like, how much more do you want me to do, right? Do you, like, it's too late for me to have children, so that part's never going to be my part of my experience, and you can't shame me for that part. Do you want me to get married? Because even if I was with somebody who believed in marriage, dipshit McFuckface did not believe in marriage, which should have been a red flag, because that means that he was a commitment phobe. But anyway, if I was with somebody who believed in long-term commitment, you know, I feel like we wouldn't necessarily need a marriage. We could be just fine without one, or we'd go and get married at the courthouse if we absolutely wanted the benefits. But it's like, I'm curious about a wedding, but at the same time I wouldn't want a wedding, you know? And what else is there? Like, certain people were talking to me about having a close relationship with somebody else, but like I mentioned on Blue Sky and whatnot, like, what's the difference between that and just a really good friendship? And that is the most Airways thing that, the closest to Airways I will ever get, because, like, I do agree with them in that sense. Like, having a partner should be optional. So, like, I don't agree with the entire shaming of the allos, honestly. But I do agree that if it's not for you, you shouldn't be pressured into having it. So, if you don't want sex, don't have sex. If you don't want a partner, don't have a partner. So, I don't know. Anyway, Oakleaf says, same with me with Yiddish. My grandparents didn't teach their kids, so the language is lost for me. Yeah, right? Luckily, my grandmother got the Yiddish part, but even then, it's like I'm not fluent with Yiddish. I only know a few words. It's like, I know it sounds racist, but my parents and grandparents were like, we need to raise you as white as possible. So, to give you the best chance in life. And that is the shittiest thing that you could have, but hey. Oakleaf says, marriage is the agreement to make, not the ceremony you have. Exactly. And you don't even need to have the formalities of the agreement. You can just be like, hey, I like you, let's live together. And that would be perfectly fine. In my opinion, anyway. I have been talking a while about this. So, actually, you know what? I don't want to get super duper more personal because like this is not ranting hour. Um, as good as this feels to talk about and to go off about, we should probably get to the next word sprint, shouldn't we? So, it is currently 9:52. Minutes are on the clock. Get ready. Get set. And I'll see you on the other side and we'll have another fun little tangent. So here we go. Alright, that is sprint number 2. 428 words on my end, but how did you all do? I have to admit that during part of that I might have had to look something up. I'm actually doing my very first work trip early December, so it's like it's a lot going on right now. That's also why I haven't gotten too much done. So I just had to take a look at some details. But in other words, I guess you can say I've been distracted. If you did tune in pretty late, I would also mention that I've been pretty tired in general. That's also probably why I just dove right into talking this round. It's kind of surprising that I'm getting much done at all. I'm hoping that I'll be able to dive back into the next round pretty quickly and get to at least 1,000. But, 400 on both sides, that means 800, so. Oakleaf says, I was also distracted and tired. High 5, you get what I mean. Yeah, I enjoy doing these sprints, but at the same time, there's no good night of the week to do them. Like, I get so much done during these sprints. Like, you have no idea. But they are... It is difficult to want to do them at the same time. Just because when they're in the middle of the week, I'm running into the part where it's like, oh, I've just burnt a shit ton of energy on work, and now I have to do a sprint. And that's not really great. But at the same time, it's sort of like, when else am I going to do them, right? The FC is still kind of figuring things out. A lot of people are burned out by Final Fantasy, so that's been a mercy. But now and then I'll have a few members be like, hey, do you want to do anything on this day? And it's sort of like, I want to be able to talk to them as well. Consistently, that's been Monday through Wednesday. It just so happens that Wednesday has started to become free. But then Thursdays, every other Thursday is taking up by D&D, and Friday, it's just like, I could do them on Friday, but it's Friday. And also, Friday, it's like, there's a risk that I'll be kidnapped by friends. So there's that. That's how it just goes, I think. Oakley says, yeah, my brain is toast after work most days, right? And I can't really host these any later than I already do. There is about a 2-hour cushion, 3-hour cushion technically, normally between work and streaming. But nonetheless, it is still very tiring. But yeah. What was I thinking? What was I saying earlier? Oh, right. Final Fantasy. I don't know. I'm kind of clinging onto it too, but that's just because I have a lot to do. I am very much a completionist person, and I have several classes that I want to get to max level, achievements I'm chasing after. The Moogle Tome event is now up, so it's like I have reasons to go back into the game. But the DDoS attacks have kind of been like, now it's a hassle to log in. So it's like, I want to keep doing it for the social aspect and because it just feels so good to get those Chivos. But, man. Which is to say, I don't know, maybe afterwards I might do like an hour or so of Final Fantasy, just decompressing. Which is even more of an incentive to actually be on time with the next sprint. But in any case, that is neither here nor there. I'm very much in the brain is toast phase right now. And like I said, it's my own damn fault because I didn't get enough sleep last night. Remember, kids, everybody needs a good chunk of sleep. And rest and hydration are vital to creativity. So, but in any case, I am chugging along with this chapter at least, and I will get to at least 1,000. So there's that at the very least. Is 100% politics right now too. Oakley says the DDoS thing is nuts, right? Like, it's every single day. Like, yesterday, I was trying to do, not M2, but like, Cruiserweight M2. And, it was like, at 10%, and, I was stuttering so badly. I was like, for fuck's sake, please just LB3 so that we can leave. But it's like, I don't know why. It's only the NA servers too. I don't know why somebody needs to attack North America on the fucking daily, but it's so annoying. It almost makes me want to go and see. It was actually kind of funny, but I was like crafting in Tulio like last week or something like that. I got kicked, and then as soon as I logged back in, there's somebody right next to me. I was like, I started complaining in Say chat about the DUS, and they said something about how the person needs to get a life, and I was like, yeah, it's so bad that I almost want to get a life, or even worse, go back to WoW. And yeah, that's it. I'm only half serious. Like, my friend keeps on talking about, one of my Brooklyn friends actually keeps on talking about WoW. I'm like, okay, as much as I fucking hate the WoW community, they don't have DUSs right now, and they have a honeybee mount. So, just saying. Alternatively, I just buy fucking Digimon, the new Digimon game, and get like the honeybee Digimon, and you will never hear from me for the next 3 weeks. Or Baldur's Gate, even worse, which is something that my FC crew keeps on trying to get me to plop down money for. Which I will eventually, because I keep on hearing good things about that game. And I'll be real, I would definitely like to be held and treated like a lady by Karlach. But it is $60. I need to justify this. Oakley says, I've been trying to write, but I have a kitten that desperately wants to play and is making mischief about it. See, that is a valid reason for not writing, though. Oakley says, I got into Genshin and have been stuck with that for like 5 years. See, that is fucking dangerous, though. It is a very pretty game. It's got a lot of fun things in it. The gacha, however, I'm where it. Oakley says, and it's free. Yeah, I know. That's the worst part about it. It's like, oh yeah, it's free. It's got story. It's very pretty. The game mechanics are very shiny and easy to pick up. By the way, how much do you want to spend on gacha? Do you want to spend your hard-earned paycheck on gacha? And you're like, yeah. So anyway, that's why I don't play Genshin. It's really good. Join me. You can play for free. I did for years. So you don't have to spend money on anything but extras. But gacha. The gacha is calling me, though. I think I played for like 2 months, and then I was like, I keep on forgetting where I am, and also the gacha is very pretty. But I should just like fuck around with it. I should download it onto this computer at least and see what happens. It at least loads better than Final Fantasy. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Final Fantasy, and I will always be a supporter of how good its story and gameplay are. Like I joined at the end of Shadowbringers, so like whenever somebody's like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy's gameplay got real sucky in the last couple of expansions. I'm like, LOL, I don't remember it being anything else. But I only say this because I know a couple of my besties in the FC have been with it since the ARR days, like since the very first base game. And they're like, yeah, I remember whenever the classes that you main, Jax, used to be dot classes. And I was like, I would have loved to see that. I would have fucked it up so badly. I can only do pretty colors. I'm sorry. But anyway, even then, like, even with Final Fantasy pared down as it is, I still think it's fun. It's just that a lot of the players had kind of left, so it does take longer to pop queues and things like that. And on top of that, for some reason, somebody wants to be fucking around with the NA servers, so that's fun. Oakley says, you don't have to spend, or I've already read that part. Resist the gacha. If you need grinding bosses, I can help you. I might check it out. There are a lot of games that I need to get back to. Like, there's Genshin. I've been ignoring Stardew for ages. Sunhaven, I need to actually finish. Quote unquote finish. Like, I'm right now, I haven't actually married anybody in Sunhaven, and I still need to woo over the moon dragon. Oakley says Genshin is very pretty, and I'm on the NA server. Goddamn. I'm going to end up re-downloading it eventually. I do want to actually play it on desktop. I think I was playing it on a phone, and it is supposed to be, like, it was made for the phone. Yeah, but I don't know, like, I don't like playing games on the phone, so I should really give it a shot on the desktop. I should not. I should resist. I have a list of games I need to get into. Like I said, Baldur's Gate is going to be my Christmas gift to me, so I'm resisting buying it now. I do want to check out, in actuality want to check out the Digimon game. Somebody had mentioned Guild Wars, so I want to check that out. For a lark, I kind of do want to, no, I'm not gonna re-download a demo of WoW, fuck that shit. But, then some people are like wrecking me, like this nuclear apocalypse game on Steam. Like, there's an entire list of things. Oakley says I played on PS4 until my PS4 broke, and now I play on mobile, alas. Yeah, I say I don't know how people play on mobile, but there is one game that I do play on mobile besides, like, Ingress and Pogo, which I recently got back into. And it's called Shattered Pixel Dungeon. It is the most fucking frustrating thing I've ever played in my life, but it's so addictive, and I do play that on phone. It's just, you know, easier. But other than that, it's sort of like, how do people have the patience to sit there and just tap on their phones constantly, you know? I just don't understand it. So, anyway. I think the main point is my to playlist is as long as my to read list. Like, I have an entire list of books that I need to actually get to as well, including some nonfiction books I picked up. Like, I need to do more research into the fiction side for comp titles. Oakley says, I also write all my novels on my phone, so I'm used to it. Jesus Christ! On the one hand, I give you all the respect. On the other hand, please love yourself. don't know how people do that either. Like, I need to be on a computer, or it's like I have to be on a computer or with a notebook in order to write. I cannot write on my phone. Have I do that only in in like extreme emergencies, but even then I'm like, I wish I had something else. Like, this hurts. Like, physically hurts. But right. As I was saying, I do need to get into research for comp titles and whatnot, so I do need to actually buy or get from the library more fantasy. But at the same time, it's so weird. I do not like reading fantasy. I love writing fantasy. Oakley says it's so convenient. My work in progress is always in my pocket and I don't have to crunch over a laptop. I resolved that issue by always having a thin notebook in my purse. But then again, or in the purse or backpack, whichever I feel like carrying because gender at that time. I'm working on my 8th novel. I've written entirely on my phone. Yeah, 100%. I just carry a notebook with me. Not gonna lie. Notebook and pens, and then I get tactile sensations. And then after I'm done with it, I take it home, and then I get more tactile sensations because I have this clicky keyboard specifically so that I can make transcribing as pleasurable as possible. Like, when I'm set up, when I'm focused on the page and I'm reading long and I don't have to think about what comes next, I get into the state where all I'm doing is looking at the page, reading, and listening to speedy clicks, and it is so fucking satisfying whenever I get speedy clicks. So anyway, that's why I can never write on my phone. It is physically painful and takes away all the tactile sensations for me. But I do fully respect anybody who does actually write entirely on their phones. Anyway, yeah, I was also saying that that I don't enjoy reading fantasy, but I love writing it, and this is my entire pain whenever it comes to trying to do comp title research. And just in general, like, trying to figure out what my fellow fantasy writers are talking about. Like, I only read a Sarah J. Maas novel this year. I had no idea what or who Sarah J. Maas was a couple years ago, and everybody was talking about her and whatnot, and I was like, fine, I'll go and read it. And I did, and it was only okay. Same thing with the Dragonfall. Somebody wrecked that to me, and I was like, okay, fine. And I read it, and it was like the worst novel that I've read all year. And I keep subjecting myself to all these novels, and I just genuinely do not enjoy reading fantasy. I just enjoy writing it. I am actually more of a horror girly if I have to read fiction. Horror and detective novels, because like those detective novels are fucking fantastic. I love mysteries. I love mysteries and thrillers, like anything that engages my mind hard, which is also why I have also been buying a lot of nonfiction lately. And it's like not craft nonfiction, it's like I bought a B book recently, and then I also bought like this nonfiction about the history of the punk scene in my hometown, and specifically the history of this one coffee shop that was a staple to the culture, the counterculture of the city of Pittsburgh. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to read both books. Like, I want to read about bees, and I want to read about the Beehive, which is hilariously the name of the cafe. I do miss it, or like, just side tangent, but the city of Pittsburgh, from the 90s until just after the pandemic, I want to say, used to have this coffee shop called, it was in the South Side, it was called the Beehive. And that was where I used to go with my friends whenever, it wasn't often, it would be like once a month. And because that was where the cool kids hung out, and that is where you went if you had a car and you were into coffee and thought of yourself as a literati. And we were all pretentious little high schoolers, so we'd go and hang out over there. And it was a magical experience. It was the kind of place that had its bathroom extremely graffitied up. Back whenever Pittsburgh used to run countercultural newspaper, you would always have like one of those stands full of free newspapers for you to check out. Like, it was like the Village Voice, and it was like all kinds of fun. But like, there would be live music on nights that we wouldn't go, but you know, it was the live music, readings, all kinds of other fun events. So it's sort of like, it's kind of funny how often bees have kind of intersected with my life. So it was kind of like I was getting funneled towards bees. But in any case, it was a staple of the Pittsburgh counterculture for a very long time, until its owners decided to move on. So Southside had been kind of like a hipsterish scene back in the day. You had it was just across the river, one of the rivers from Oakland, which was a huge college town. But like, you didn't go to Oakland unless you were a college student. You went to the South Side, which was full of bars and full of cafes and kind of really neat stuff. So the Beehive was at the center of that. Not anymore though. They closed it, I think, like I said, early pandemic, or even like just before pandemic, and nothing's really replaced it, as far as I know. As far as I know, a lot of the hipster culture moved to Lawrenceville, which is across the river and like another town over from Oakland, if I recall correctly. My geography is a little bit fuzzy, but that is why I'm super excited about that nonfiction book, by the way. It is entire history of this one place. And I also have a book on how bees communicate, complete with diagrams. I'm so excited about that too. But diving back into fantasy, I'm like, I don't even know if I want to like read anything all that much else. Like non-romance fantasy. We're talking like Brandon Sanderson, right? And I'm not entirely sure that's up my alley because I've weirdly never been super into the medieval style high fantasy either. I'm kind of weird about that. But in any case, I can't handwrite, my hands cramp, and I'm so slow, says Oakleaf. Oh, 100%. It does take a lot of patience and practice, and 100% I'm hurting myself as I'm writing. But Oakleaf says, I have opinions on current fantasy, but I love older fantasy, and romantasy is a whole other thing. 100%. Absolutely. I feel like romantasy is heavily driven by fanfiction, and a lot of other fantasy is driven by older fantasy. So I feel like that might be the difference. But I definitely understand what you mean by saying romantasy is an entirely different beast to fantasy, even though it's technically supposed to be a subgenre. But yeah, I mean, I would happily take Rex. Like, if somebody offered me, like, every time somebody is like, you should read this, I have put it on my story graph as a to read. Some of them I've been like, I don't really think that this would be up my alley. But others, like, I will sit down and see what's up. Can I just say, I was thinking, or that reminded me of Moonflow, actually. I did not actually read the entire thing, but I read the reviews and I read the sample, and it's the premise, the general premise sounded really cool until Oku says, I have Rex DM me on Discord later and I will give you Rex, but none of them will be very recent. That is totally a-okay. I mean, I will probably still have to dig for more recent stuff if I'm going to get some comp tales going, but like if I self-publish, I don't give a fuck. Like I will drop by your DMs later and be like, hey, please, for the love of God, hit me up with some good fantasy. I need something in my life. But Moonflow, I was there with it until I got to the idea that it was actually set in the modern day real world, but you know, fictional woods, and it was actually cult horror and heavily laden with sex. And I don't know why, but after I found all of that out, I was like, I don't really feel like it anymore. Because, like, the way that it was advertised made it sound like it was a straight fantasy novel, you know, or not, like, no pun intended or anything like that. What I mean by that is it's made up its own world, and there was going to be world building and a lot of psychedelia. But it seems like from the reviews, it seems heavily focused on just doing drugs and having sex. And I feel like there's something about that that's kind of lost. I kind of got that sense starting off because the entire first chapter, aka the sample, just features the main character going to a rave, and the rave is full of sex and drugs, and it's like that's the entire thesis of the book, and I'm just not that interested at that point. Like there's no psychedelia, there's no psychedelia, but it's like one of the fun things about House of Leaves, for example, is that it's very cerebral in its approach to psychedelia. So weird shit happens. People do drugs and then weird shit happens. There's sex and there's weird shit happens, but the focus is on the weird shit, not on the sex, not on the drugs, the weird shit. And that's what I want. I want I want heavy world building with weird shit. And it sounds like it's just sex and drugs. And I'm like, why is every goddamn contemporary queer novel this? So that is my rant for the night. Why is it like... I love you, B Sky. I really do. But sex should not be cornerstone to everything. Like, I understand why that's a notion. Like, if we swing the other way and say that sex is evil, or that it's like a reaction to the puritanical stranglehold that a lot of straight media and straight cishet groups have on general society. It's also kind of backlash against the movements we've seen in queer culture not too long ago, wherein you had a lot of very queer people who were basically gatekeeping the queer community by being very weird about being very weird about kinks and spaces and whatnot. So I understand that the prevalence of sex is actually, or the comfort that we have with sex is actually a good thing. What I object to is the mentality that everything should be about sex. And I can't really phrase that in a way that's good, because I do think that there should be sex. People should have the option of sex. I don't think that, I feel like the prevalence of sex is why we have the romantasy shenanigans that we do. Like, it's why Rebecca Yarros can create a YA novel that is basically sex with dragons. Not even the fun kind of sex with dragons, says the definitely not furry person. I mean, like, it's two vanilla cishet people who are just fucking, and there happens to be dragons in the corner. It's like the most boring kind of sex with dragons kind of book, you know what I mean? Yes, I am doing a fucking slate at Fourth Wing despite not having actually read it, but to deal with it, I'm talking about cishet romantasy at the moment. But the point is, like, I don't know, like, I'm just so tired of sex. I'm kind of uncomfortable with reading it anyway, because a lot of the times, like, I am a very visible person, like a very visibly expressive person. So, like, if if I'm reading like a Kindle on my Kindle online, or listening to an audiobook or whatnot, on the subway or something like that, I suddenly can't really hold it together, as it were. But also, like, just certain types of sex kind of make me uncomfortable, that's all. Lesbian sex is not one of them. I do enjoy reading that kind of tenderness, but this is more than you wanted to know. But hey, actually, yeah, let's backpedal a little bit. The point is, like, I just don't feel comfortable reading too much, but then it's like, what else do I have? Because everybody wants to include sex, and everybody wants to make their books spicy and on some level, and it's kind of frustrating a little bit, I kind of want to say. I guess that's what that's all I have to say about it. Or in other words, like, I feel like we should be able to have more queer novels and more discussion about queer lit without involving sex, you know? Or even, like, not involving romance, too. Like, that's another thing. Where's the content for the Aeroace people who want to have Aeroace content, right? Or where's the content for the Aero people who aren't necessarily Aeroace? Like, it seems like there's very much a one-note kind of thing, and it does fold back into what I was talking about earlier, wherein you have people who say that their experiences are the superior kind of experiences, and they surprise Pikachu face at you whenever you, like, I feel fulfilled without those experiences. Like, in the same sense that I object to being told that I need to go out and date again, like, I also object to people saying that sex is a vital part of existence. Even more so, even, because, like, that hits a little bit too close to home. Because whenever I'd come out to people, their first question would be, so, do you fuck? And also, but have you tried fucking this specific way? And then they'd continuously get graphic, or they'd hit on me harder. And it's like, I just don't want to deal with that, you know? So, my point is, queer literature should be queer literature for adults, because it's like almost as if queer literature for adults is often about sex and queer literature for kids is about coming out, and it's like, I'm so frustrated, I'm so over it. Or at least writing communities make it feel like that, because that's all we ever fucking talk about. And it's either coming out or having sex, and it's like there has to be more than this. But I will probably be burned at the stake if anybody's actually listening other than Oakleaf, and I do apologize, Oakleaf, if I've just insulted any part of your views. But the main point is, yeah, variety is a good thing, and that is also why I'm like super frustrated with modern literature. A lot of fantasy just seems same notey, or they say that it's rebellious, but it's like watered down rebellion, as in Dragonfall, or it's all big A do crimes, and it's like the most insufferable people that you've ever seen written on a page, or it's just Rebecca Yarros, straight people having sex, or it's like a lot of popular folks on B-Sky, queer people having sex, or it's just uninteresting. Like, I don't know, like I want something weird, and I want something fun because it's weird. I think that's why my absolute favorite author is Grady Hendrix, because those books are fucking weird. And also, what was it? The Witchcraft for Wayward Girls. That book, the one of his that everybody talks about, fucking mild compared to a lot of other stuff. Like, people are like, "Oh, this is the best book. It's got trauma and stuff," and it's sort of like, it's okay, but you should read Horror Store, and you should read How to Sell a Haunted House, and you should read and I could go on and on, but like don't let that be the only book of it. Don't get me wrong, like that book is also really good, but I would say that's B plus compared to the absolute visceral nature of Horror Store and How to Sell a Haunted House. Like, those are S tier books right there. But or if you want to do queer fun, go the Edgar Cantero route. Like, Meddling Kids is such a good book, but it's because it's fucking weird as hell and has fun with what it's doing. Like, I don't just be like all samey, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, modern retelling of Scooby-Doo with weird Lovecraftian bullshit and unpacking trauma. That was such a good ride. Like, just fucking go hog wild on your bullshit. Don't just be like, all these books are so fucking tame with their weirdness. I don't know. Oakleaf says, LOL, no, not insulted at all. I agree with what you said. Hell yeah, high five. In short, yeah, if anybody wants to rec me books, the best books to rec are fucking weird as shit and also cerebral. Like, I guess back to Moonflow, like, I hope that I'm wrong and that there's more to it, and that it does get so much better later on, but the bit that I saw and the reviews just made it seem like it's just about drugs and sex and the modern world, and it's like, where's the fun in that? Just hit me the fuck up with weird as shit stuff, like houses that shift on you, and puppets that come alive, and Lovecraftian tentacle shit, and lace all that with human trauma, and come back to me when you've done all that instead of Anyway. So anyway, that is why I just have a massive TBR pile. And on that note, it is 10:50, so we should get into the very last sprint. I do apologize for all that, and also thank everybody who stuck with all that rants. But it did feel good to actually put that into words, that honestly I just want fucking weird as shit books, and I just don't get it from the fantasy or even some mainstream horror lit. But anyway. Anyway, 10:52. We have 20 minutes on that clock, so let's just dive right in. You know, I'll talk to you about the schedule for next week. On the other side. So, that having been said, get ready, get set, and here we go. worries, Oakleaf. Thanks for hanging out with us, and thank you for enabling my chatter. And I will hit you up with about those Recs later. But I hope you take care and have a great night. Alright, that's it. I forgot to actually mark down where I was. Just 1 second. Here we are. 707, which doubles my word count and does actually knock me into the 1K territory. So all in all, not half bad. Excuse me for 1 second. Thought I was about to sneeze right there. But yeah, I feel like this is a good place for me to kind of like chill out for a bit so I can figure out whether or not I want to continue onward or where I want to go from here. In the meantime, let us talk about very briefly, because I'm pretty sure there aren't really super duper a lot of people watching at this point. But let me bring up the calendar. Alright, so this weekend's just going to be kind of a chill one. Oh, we'll see. I'm not 100% sure what I'm doing for this weekend. I do know that the 23rd I will be out and about, so definitely no special stream there. Maybe Saturday, we'll see. I do intend on staying indoors for a long while because shitty weather. But other than that, let's look at next week too. Next week, same old, same old, and the 26th will be the day before Thanksgiving, so I will have an unusual amount of free time that day. So with that in mind, 100% next week we are going to be streaming. That is Wednesday the 26th. It's going to be the same bat time, same bat channel, and hopefully I will have actually had a nap before coming, so it will be less rambly and weird. Rambly and ranty. We'll talk about whether or not I will have any time to stream it during the holiday weekend. Right now my plan is I'm going to actually stay in. I don't really go anywhere for Thanksgiving anyway. To me, Thanksgiving is a day that I have to myself because I like to experiment in the kitchen and make shit that I eat because I feel like that's an appropriate day to do it. And I also just basically watch Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and that is literally all I do that day. Like, I do have the option of doing Friendsgiving, but I prefer just fucking around in the kitchen. So it's not a huge holiday for me. In other words, I never really spent that much time with my family on it. It's not like Christmas where I go home every week or every holiday season, or go, you know, to their home. In other words, but there's always a possibility that I'll be hanging out with somebody then. So we'll play it by ear. And we'll see where I'm at next week. But in the meantime, 100% guaranteed, the only day that I have guaranteed will be Wednesday. There might be something else. You know where to find me. You know how it is. I say that there might be a special stream and then there never is. But nonetheless, definitely follow me on Blue Sky for any sort of updates. I announce special streams and streams in general there first. Ring the bell on Blue Sky if you want to be updated with my general shenanigans. But also that's how you'll get notifications about special streams pumped directly into your feed. Just look for any picture of Benjamin and you've basically got a stream announcement. Alternatively, if you want to subscribe and hit the bell on YouTube, you will also get notified when I actually go live, so you will get no advance notice. Ergo, more recommended version is just go on Blue Sky. Other than that, you know where to find me. Newsletter on Beehive, and that's literally basically it because I'll use Instagram to look at bee pictures. In any case, that's about it for tonight. Thank you all for joining and putting up with my shenanigans. It's always a delight to sit here and to rant about stuff and also write. But in any case, if I don't see you for special streams, it's a-okay. Take care of yourselves. Otherwise, I will see you next Wednesday for sure, and possibly other stuff too. Again, take care of yourselves, sweet dreams, stay hydrated, and good night.